Hello everybody. It's feeling super festive in here because it is the 6th of December. I'm good at days. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Meg. My channel name is Crisis Crafts. You've probably seen it down below. Mainly crochet. To be honest, most of the time I'm crocheting. I am in the very slow process of learning to knit, but my patience is there's a little tiny piece. It's a little tiny piece of patience. But I'm getting there. We've almost finished a full knitting project and it's taken me a full year. But mainly that's to do with the time I've had to dedicate to it. But yeah, this is my world. This is my Christmas tree that's covered in vintage Disney ornaments that we found in the attic of a house that one of our relatives moved into. In fact, most of our Christmas tree is vintage Disney, which is kind of crazy. My initial plan for December was to do a full-on Vlogmas because I love Vlogmas. I'm obsessed with Vlogmas. Vlogmas is my favorite time of the year. I love the Christmas season anyway. I love cold weather. I love being warm and cozy and having a hot drink. That's my entire personality probably, is being all cozy with a hot drink. Won't lie to you. I have one right here as well. This is actually, weirdly enough, an energy drink. It's a plum and cinnamon, like, winter festive energy drink that they recommended to try hot. So I'm trying it hot for the first time. It was just a little sample. I have an advent calendar for this brand of drinks, and they do energy drinks, iced tea, milkshakes, and hydration, like electrolyte drinks. And their iced teas and their hydration drinks have been pretty fundamental in me getting my water intake in the course of a day. And I've got their advent calendar because I needed to stock up anyway. So I thought, why not use it as an excuse to try a bunch of other flavors and stuff. And I think it kind of works out about 3 of their drinks per day, this whole advent calendar thing. So I think it's quite good, and it's going to keep me going through more than just December, because I don't always drink that many drinks in a day, especially if they're like energy drinks and that sort of stuff. If I'm having a caffeinated, like energy drink style caffeine drink, 1 is my max. If I'm having coffee, then it's a bit different. But anyway, I digress. That's what I'm drinking. Now's a good opportunity for you to go get something to drink as well. Nice hot drink. Don't care what it is. I've already had a peppermint mocha today and a chai latte. I truly don't care what your hot drink is, just as long as you're enjoying it and you're having a good time. Unless you don't like hot drinks, in which case I'm not going to pressure you. So originally my plan for Vlogmas, as I said, was a traditional everyday Vlogmas, but it's not happening. I've had a really rough week work-wise, so me trying to do Vlogmas on top of that was a nightmare, and I was finding that I wasn't really getting much crochet done either, so there wasn't really much point. But it's the weekend, and I have this idea that maybe instead we do like a little Vlogmas video every day, every weekend day in the run up to Christmas. And they can be a bit more like a podcasty sort of thing, like do them all in one go sort of thing. Or they might be a vlog. I don't know how I'm feeling, but I feel like that's pretty achievable. I do have a lot of plans over like the weekends in December, but it's not so bad. Like we had a super busy morning. I hit 10,000 steps by the time I got home today. And we got home at like 3 p.m, something like that. And it's now 5, but I'm sure we can find some time to do a little crochet or somewhat related crafty podcast thingy, even if I can't vlog the whole day. So that's my plan. So here we are. I feel like I'm sitting really awkwardly. I should probably sit up. That's better. I was just trying to frame things. I'm not good at this whole framing things, lighting things, all of it. I think we've got the lighting in a good spot. It's really hard when it's dark. I've got a lovely little lamp here, but I think the warmth is doing good. I don't look terrible, at least in my viewfinder. So yeah, I think we're good to crack on. So today so far, we've been everywhere, man. A little bit of context for you. One of my sisters, Maisie, my dear sister, not that my other sister isn't my dear sister as well, but my dear sister Maisie she normally lives with me. and she's been living with me and my partner for 3 years, nearly 4. And she has gone to stay at my mum's house, which is about half an hour away. She didn't end up driving there, so she's out in the middle of nowhere, half an hour away. She didn't take her car for 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks in fact, while my mum and my stepdad are on a Christmas markets cruise. So obviously we're missing her. The dynamic in the house is kind of weird. As much as I love it being me and my fiance, like, we wouldn't be together if that wasn't the case. We've lived alone before, all that sort of stuff. We made it through the pandemic living together, so we're good, but the dynamic is very different and I miss my sister. So we kind of decided that today we would go into my hometown, do a little bit of like Christmas shopping there. It's a beautiful town, and it used to be really well known for its Christmas markets. So they've kind of kept that spirit alive with Christmas at that time of year. Anyway, so we did that in the morning. We went to visit my sister at my mum's house, and then as we were driving into the village where my mum's house is, we saw a full Christmas tree made out of granny squares, a nutcracker made out of crochet, a giant Christmas hat hanging from a tree and like sat on a bush made out of crochet, and an entire gingerbread house made out of crochet. And I tried to get some footage for you, so if it's good enough quality, I will put it in here. But there was some children around, so I'm gonna edit around them, obviously. And I just think it's so funny that like all of a sudden, like, I've been crocheting now for like 3 years, and all of a sudden my little village that I grew up in has like a crochet Christmas tree. I think they've been doing it for a while, but like I've never been around there at Christmas to see it, because we normally come in from the other way and out the other way if we're visiting, but we just happened to go the other way and see the green and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I thought it was really cute. And then once we'd done that, we were heading home sort of thing, but we knew there was a few more bits we wanted to get. We're basically doing a bunch of hampers for people. I craft a lot of gifts, and my fiance always feels really left out. He obviously wants to join in with the gift giving and feels a bit weird about like co-signing on a gift that I've made. So his way of being a bit more DIY and crafty was to come up with these hampers for people. So we've been on the lookout for stuff for these hampers. We ended up going to Suffolk Food Hall, which was kind of on the way home. So we went there as well. It was lovely in there. I've never been in there. It was crazy. And I only bought one thing for myself, which I'm very proud of considering how much was in there. I mean, we also bought dinner, so I guess that counts as well, maybe. But yeah, I got myself this like single variety cone marmalade. Sounds like a really weird thing to want to get, but I love marmalade. It's very nostalgic to me. It makes me think of my grandma, my granny. But yeah, that's kind of what I was up to. I also went in quite possibly my second favourite yarn shop ever. My first is the one in Skegness because it's huge, but this is like my second favourite yarn shop. And I say this because last time I was in there, I was able to get 6 balls of Happy Place Apricity for £15. £15! I don't know why this random yarn shop in the middle of Suffolk sells Hobie, but sometimes it does. And today was one of those days. So I'm going to show you my little haul. I think they might have some sort of deal where they purchase like returns from Hobie or something like that, because they have like the weirdest selection of Hobie stuff in like their bargain bin. This time around I was able to get 2 packs of the Friends Cotton 88. These are the mini packs, so these are like 10 gram skeins. But this is like 200 grams between them. And this, I think this normally goes for £6. And this was $4.99. So it's not like the Happy Place sort of bargains. But I don't know, I just freak out every time I see Hobie in a yarn shop. So I got these 2. And then I very recently drafted up a new pattern for a scarf that I'm going to gift to my mum. I hope you're not watching this, Mum. In fact, you've probably just been spoiled on all your presents, and I'm about to work on your other presents. So if you have seen this, bad Christmas for you, no surprises. But I made a scarf for my mum in this pattern. It looks amazing. I want one for myself. So that's what I'm going to do eventually. This is probably going to be a New Year thing. but I'll put like some B-roll of the original scarf in. Maybe I'll just put it on with this. It won't go with this because it's purple, but you know. And for that original, I used Highland Heather's Decay by Stylecraft, and I loved the variation in the yarn. It wasn't like too variegated, it was more of a marling, and there was a little bit of tweed in there. And I loved the way that looked with the pattern of the scarf, because the scarf had a little bit of texture of its own, and I didn't want the yarn to be too distracting from that. So I spotted this when I was in there. This is by Woolcraft, which again is not a yarn company that I get in my local yarn shops. I very rarely see Knitco or Woolcraft or anything like that in my local yarn shops. It's normally like Serdar and Stylecraft and stuff like that. But this is Esteem DK, which is 100% recycled fibre. And this is the shade orange. It is 50% recycled acrylic, 30% recycled cotton, and 20% recycled polyester. It feels a little bit more sturdy than the Highland Heathers did, probably because of the cotton that's in here, but I just think it's gorgeous. Like it's like a base of orange, and it's got loads of brown and almost black kind of mold in, but I really like it. And it's like, probably as you can tell from the jumper I'm wearing, my sort of colours. So yeah, this is probably going to be my first like post-Christmas project. So I can't work on it right now. At the moment, as I said, I'm working on a jumper for my mum for Christmas. I've been working on this since like November on and off. To be honest, mainly off. I worked on it for a weekend in November, and then I pretty much put it down to work on other Christmas stuff. But this is the back panel. I love the texture of it. I think it's gorgeous. I'm very excited about it. And this is Sweater 52 by Daisy and Peace. I really love this jumper, and I kind of want to make one for myself, to be honest, but I don't know if I will. It's not been a lot of effort, and to be honest, like having the variety of stitches that it does has meant that I am pretty engaged with it, and it feels like it goes quite quickly. But I feel like these textured sort of jumpers, they do really well in these sort of cream, sort of Aran colours. But I wouldn't want to make one that's identical to my mum's. No offence to my mum, it's just I'm not really one for matching garments. So I'd have to find a colour that kind of works for me but also works for the pattern, and I just haven't given it much thought yet, to be honest. I'm currently working on the front panel, which I'm very excited about. And it's going well so far. I only started this Thursday, and it's Saturday, obviously. I wasn't finding myself drawn to the project I was currently working on, and I felt like I was wasting time because I wasn't feeling like crocheting. So I wanted to bring some variety in and, you know, get some creative juices flowing. So I thought I'd pick this up again because I knew that this is quite an exciting one for me to work on. There's a lot of dopamine in it. It's like each stitch section takes long enough that like I can get a lot done with one section, and also the reward of getting the section done is quite fulfilling. So yeah, that's kind of why I like this jumper. Just kind of more reason for me to make another one, to be honest. I don't know why I'm talking myself out of it. I just have different things coming up on the horizon. Oh, that kind of tastes like mulled wine. Interesting. An energy drink that tastes like mulled wine is kind of weird. I'm liking it, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't expecting it. That's so interesting. I wish they sold that one. They don't sell that one. They put it in the advent calendar and they don't sell it. And I don't think it's coming later in the year because we're already on the 6th of December. And they yesterday just launched their Christmas festive ones. And those 3 were in the advent calendar already. They were the festive iced tea. Then there was a baked apple energy drink, which was quite nice. I had it cold though. I'd love to try it hot. I wish I had. And then there was a speculoos milkshake, which I haven't tried yet, but I assume is quite nice. But yeah, why didn't they also launch this? It's warming my soul. And I like that. Hope your hot drinks are doing the same for you. But yeah, I have some fun plans with my Christmas presents. I've got a couple of small ones and I've got a couple of big ones. This jumper being one of the biggest, I'd say. Last year I kind of set the precedent. I made jumpers for everybody, but I had a bit more time because I wasn't seeing my sister that doesn't live with me and her partner until middle of January. So I had a little bit of extra leeway, and I ended up not finishing everybody else's until that January Christmas. So yeah, I had a lot more leeway. We're on the 5th of December and I've not actually finished one of the garments that I'm giving. It's really sad, but the people that live with me, I've put their projects on the back burner. My sister that lives with me, Maisie, she already knows what she's getting, as does my as does my partner, who is sat in the same room as me playing Call of Duty right now. But yeah, they're gifts. I mean, if I get to them before Christmas, then that's fantastic. But I'm just going to prioritize the other things, which are this jumper, obviously. I have a scarf that I'm halfway through for my boss, because she's just like the best. I love her to pieces, to be honest. If I leave this job, like she's like a friend, like long term, and I love that. She's had to take some time off from work recently, and I've been catching up with her and stuff outside of work, and it just feels really nice. I just know that when she comes back, like, we'll be even closer and we'll work even better together, you know? And she got me into running, which is something I never thought I'd be able to do. I wouldn't say I'm like a fanatic about it, but like I regularly run now, and that's, for someone that looks like me, very strange. So yeah, I'm making her a little something. She also crochets, but I still think she'll appreciate a scarf. I don't know. Maybe she won't, but like I'm making it anyway. And then I have drafted a new design for a quarter zip jumper, which I'm making samples of for my other sister, the one that doesn't live with me, her partner, and my stepdad. And my hope is that that will be enough samples in terms of sizing and stuff, because they're all quite different sizes. Obviously, men's garments are gonna have to have different ease and like sizing to women's anyway. But I'm hoping that it will be a good sample range that I feel pretty good about writing a pattern. And they're all very different in the way that they look. I'm really hoping that, you know, next year is the year that I actually get some patterns out, because like I've written one and I've drafted one that's I've got 3 samples of in my house. So that one's pretty much ready to go. I just have to put it down on paper and get some photos of it. And then I've got the scarf that I recently made and this quarter zip. So that's already like 4 patterns that I'm pretty much ready to go with. So I'm really excited to kind of branch out and kind of do that as like a thing. So that's like my big goal for next year. This year I did a lot of pattern testing, and I feel like that was really cool. It's not something that I'm a big fan of for myself, just in the way I do things. Like it's not my day job. Like I want everything to be fun. And sometimes pattern testing isn't fun. So having all these like deadlines that came with like my hobby, my crochet, ended up being a little bit demotivating. Maybe that's the right word. The first pattern test I did, I had some major tension issues with it. Like I obviously gauge swatched, but then by the time I got to the whole garment, it was completely different gauge. So I had a bit of a freak out, and I'd already signed up for a second pattern test from the same designer, and I felt kind of bad because I ended up getting really delayed on the first one. I started the pattern test with this one like fiber type. It was like a crochet polyester blend or something. It was really nice, but I ended up making a garment that ended up being about 2 sizes too small for me, just because of these tension issues. I think it wouldn't have been as bad if it was like regular crochet, but it was Tunisian crochet, and the swatch the garment didn't really block out at all. You couldn't really give it much stretch. So I ended up making like an acrylic version, which is definitely not the vibe that was the plan for that design at all. It was definitely meant to be like a little summer cotton sort of top. And I wish it could have been, but what can you do? So yeah, I was in this really weird position where like, yes, I've pattern tested before, but I really didn't enjoy the process the first time. It stressed me out massively. I really wanted it to be all these things. Like I had this big trip coming up and I wanted to have the garment finished so that I could take it with me, and it just didn't work out. I wanted to take lovely photos of it, and I'm not really the best with the camera, as you can probably tell from the way I've framed this, but yeah. So that was my initial experience of a pattern test, and over the course of the year I did a total of 4 pattern tests. I ended up taking somewhat of a break in the middle of the year in terms of pattern testing, and that was when I started really thinking about things I could make, things I wanted to draft and come up with patterns for. So that's when I did my first of the patchwork cardigans, which has been the one thing that's the one big garment thing that I've finished so far. And you actually saw the first patchwork cardigan on my channel in my first vlog, if you've watched that. In fact, that whole week was me finishing off those first 2 pattern tests, for that one designer, and then working on this cardigan, this patchwork cardigan. And that was like my whole week, because I took a week off. And then I made another sample of it in while I was on holiday. And yeah, I did a fair amount of sample making at that point. I made a solid color one for my sister, and then I did my kind of steampunky one, which I love, and I can't believe I actually did it in time for when I wanted to finish it for, which is great. Basically, my second patchwork sample of this cardigan was it was the first one I'd envisioned, and it was inspired by Discoveryland at Disneyland Paris, which is in turn inspired by Jules Verne. And that was like the initial idea for this cardigan that I'd had. But I didn't have the yarn on hand to do it, so I did my kind of, I guess the way to describe it is like preschool looking one, I guess. My primary colours one, because I had the scrap yarn on hand for making a Christmas present last year to then do this one. I basically, after I finished my the jumper for my sister, which was the one that I used the scrap for in this primary colours cardigan, I had to buy a second ball of this. It was like a wool Aran. It was like acrylic with wool, I should say. But it came in 400 gram skeins, and you could not buy it in a skein any smaller. And I needed about 20 grams to finish off this garment, and I was so annoyed. So I had this gigantic ball of this, like, it's like a white yarn, but with multicolored tweed, like really bright poppy kind of colored tweed. And I had no idea how to use it, where I could use it, all this sort of stuff. So I kind of initially said to myself, we'll just try it out with this patchwork cardigan idea, and if I don't like it, then I don't like it, and that's fine, because you were just using scrap. But actually, I've got a fair amount of wear out of that cardigan. I really like it. We've just been talking in circles, and I don't really know how I got here. I think we were talking about pattern tests, and then I was talking about my own patterns, but whatever. My mind wanders quite a bit. You're right, my love. I've completely lost my train of thought now. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about things I'm making for Christmas. That was the whole point of this. My whole aim of my chat was meant to be the things I'm making for Christmas. And I only got as far as this and the quarter zip. So that's fun. For my other sister, I am making a city stroll sweater by Just the Worsted. I am about 80% done with that. I've got one sleeve left to do and the cuffs, and then stitching the sides together. But as I say, because she lives with me and she can get it whenever, unfortunately, she doesn't take priority. And then for my fiance, I am adapting this really cool Kermit the Frog tapestry crochet by Crochet or Cry into a pillowcase, like a cushion cover. And my plan is to do Kermit on one side, and then I was gonna do gingham with the 2 shades of green and the white on the back. And that's my plan. I think it's going to be really good. I'd love to get to a point where I actually start thinking about Christmas gifts like a lot earlier in the year. I just get so excited about other projects. But I'd love to get to the point where I can also work on a project for me at Christmas time. Because I kind of started one, and I was treating it as my Christmas present to myself. But it's definitely not going to get done by Christmas. I got a good chunk of the way through. It's the Mosaic Sweater by Nomad Stitches, and I love it so much. It was such an enjoyable process. I really wanted to try Mosaic Crochet, and that was the first project I did with it, was that jumper, and I loved it so much that I ended up pattern testing a Mosaic crochet top for Crochet by Jessie, and it really made me want to, design something with Mosaic Crochet as part of it. I'm not there yet, but it's definitely something I want to try next year. I imagine that'll be something that I kind of work on towards the end of next year, because I've got so many, garments and stuff kind of in the pipeline for patterns and stuff next year. I suppose I can kind of talk about next year's plans, actually. I'm hoping that... So I've got 2 garment patterns kind of in the works already. They're both 2 knitting crochet, and they're very much like join-as-you-go patchwork sort of pieces, but that could be adapted into solid colour things. And one is the cardigan. It's a really oversized cardigan in a similar vein to the Lunar cardigan by Mrs. Mood in Heaven, but maybe a little less oversized actually, because I've made one of those and it was huge. And this one is join as you go. So you can literally connect every single piece and only have to stitch from the arms down to the waist or the end, I suppose. It's a great one if you hate sewing. I found after doing so I've done 3 of them so far. The first one I did, the front and back panels were joined as I went. And then I did separate sleeves. And then the second one I did was a monocolored one, but I did everything attached, and it's still lovely. It's great, but it became so cumbersome to work on once the sleeves were kind of attached that I didn't work on it as much as I probably should have. And I guess the same kind of happened with the third one I made, which was the Jules Verne one. I did the front and back panels of that one joined, but this was a longer one, so it had an extra panel at the front and back sort of thing. Like with it being patchwork, there was an extra patch length on both sides. So I added basically an extra third to each side of the garment, and by the end of that it also became kind of cumbersome. So I don't know how much I want to do join as you go stuff. My second one can be join as you go if you want it to be, but it's not really designed to be. It's mainly like panel work. If you wanted to do it patchwork style, you absolutely could. And I've kind of the first one that I'm making, the first sample, is kind of half patchwork. It's patchwork on the bottom 2/3 of the body. So there's a little bit of patchwork involved, but it's not the whole thing. And there are also much smaller patches than on the big cardigan. But yeah, it's both my garment patterns are very customizable to the point where I've kind of got like add-ons in mind for some of them. Like these cardigans, the Jules Verne inspired one and the primary colours one, they've got lots of fun colour work in them. And I'd love to get to a point where I can maybe offer these add-ons, like offer them as add-ons sort of thing. I think that would be really cool, and I'd love to be able to do that for like a bunch of my different garments that I end up making, but we're not there yet. So I've got those two, and then towards the middle of the year my mum was starting to think about this cruise that she's already on, and then she sent me a TikTok of a cowl, and it was a knitted cowl. So and she was asking, can you make that? And I was like, I can't really knit, but I could probably crochet you something similar. So she took it, and I ended up making this cowl. It's like a triangular cowl. My phone just decided to give up on me for a second there. I also didn't realise that I'd been talking for 47 minutes. I'm sure in the video it won't be anywhere near that much because I've also taken a lot of silent breaks and all that sort of stuff. But I was talking about my cowl. So I don't know how far we got in, but basically my mum asked for a cowl that was a knitted cowl. It was like an all over puff stitch sort of thing, and I liked it, but I thought the puff stitches were a little bit much, to be quite honest. So when I drafted a crochet version, I ended up, it's still got a lot of puff stitches in. The puff stitches are kind of like the star of the show, but they're an accent now, more so than the whole piece. And that is the Wheatberry cowl is what I've named it. And I'd like to get that tested pretty early in the new year. And then from there, I came up with the idea for the scarf that kind of matched. And that's the scarf I want to make with this Woolcraft recycled fibre thingy. So that will be its own pattern. And then I also had the idea of making like a mini scarf as well in the same sort of style, but very different. I came up with an idea that is really interesting actually. It uses some it doesn't look like it's full of like skipped stitches, but to make puff stitches work in like a mini scarf sort of style, it's just pretty cool. I'm very excited about it and I can't wait to finish it. But once again, it's not taking priority. But yeah, that's my next thing that I want to draft is the mini scarf version. I'd like to kind of have a Wheatberry kind of series of accessories, I guess. Maybe also some sort of hat or a headband and some mittens maybe. I just really like the kind of the motif of it, if that makes sense. I think it's really cute. I'm very excited about it. So I'm going to try and do that in the new year. I think that'll be like the first pattern test. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe I can run the 3 scarves simultaneously. I feel like that won't be so bad because they're accessories. They're not long projects. I timed myself making one of the cowls and it took me 3 hours. So I imagine that somebody can get it done in a weekend. Obviously, I'm not going to pressure people with pattern tests to literally only have a weekend to do it, but I feel like I feel kind of comfortable running pattern tests for small garments. Small accessories, I should say. And then from there, I don't know what's next. I'd love to do some sort of jumper. I don't make jumpers for myself very often, and I love wearing jumpers. And I'd love to be able to represent myself with jumpers that I make. I wear a lot of knitwear into the office, and I'd love to be able to have a bit more knitwear that I can be like, oh yeah, I made this or whatever. So I think it'd be really cool to kind of make some kind of jumper. Maybe that's where the mosaic crochet will come in. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. But I'm really excited about the year ahead. I think it's going to be a massive one for Crisis Crafts, and I hope you'll be there for, you know, the kind of journey of it. And if you're seeing this around December of 2025, you know, you're in from the ground, you know. You're here before she got big. Well, that's silly. That's assuming that I'm going to get big, but I can manifest it if I want to. Yeah, I'm hoping for big things next year, and I'm gonna put the work in to make sure that I try my best with them. So yeah, that's my plan basically. I'm gonna spend the rest of the evening working on this. I am about to go put a beef and red wine pie in the oven. Like it's all very cozy and cute and nice. And yeah, super excited. I feel like I'm gonna vlog tomorrow. I feel like I'm in a good place to vlog. So you might see a vlog tomorrow. Regardless of what the video is tomorrow, I will see you then. Thank you all so much for coming and joining me for my first video in Vlogmas kind of thing, you know. Not quite Vlogmas for Vlogmas. I'll see you all tomorrow.